Hi everyone, my name is Gaurang Mittal and I'll be sharing my IIM Ahmedabad's interview experience with you all today. My interview was scheduled for 14th of March in the morning slot. So as soon as we reached the interview place, our phones were switched off and we were asked to sit in a separate room for the AWT preparation. And our seats were already allocated. We were divided into different panels. So as soon as the AWT started, it was a very easy topic. So we were given a paragraph and then a subsequent questions were given to us. So we had to answer the questions depending on our thinking and ability skills. So as soon as the AWT got over, we got a list for the panel in which we'll be giving our interviews. So each and every person was allotted a serial number, and hence we got to know our order in which we'll be giving the interviews. So my number in my panel was the 7th interview. So as soon as the interview started happening, there were a lot of curiousness among the panelists and as well as the students on how the interviews are happening, what all are they asking. So me and my friends, like the people I met there, we started discussing various things, which are the probables, depending upon the last year of interview experiences that we had gone through. So the things that can be asked upon us. So the period between the AWT and the interview was kind of nerve-wracking in a way because so much tension was there in the room, and so much spirits were going on. Everyone was high on spirits. Everyone wanted to do their best. So that was really a nervous time for probably everyone. So before my interview, each and every interview was for about 20-25 minutes. So I had to wait for a good amount of time, say 2 hours before my interview. So when I was waiting for my interview, like the sixth person was interviewing and I was just outside the interview room. I was really nervous at that point of time. I was constantly walking around that place. I just couldn't simply sit at one place. And finally, when I had to go inside the interview room, I took a deep breath, calmed myself down, and finally went inside the interview room. I saw that a good 40-50-year-old professor was there, and supposedly the other panelist was an IIM alum. So I greeted them. There was icebreaker moment. They cracked up a joke. I laughed. Then yeah, so the first 30-40 seconds it was just icebreaking. They're telling me their names, what they do, and where was the alum from. So as soon as I sat, the first question that I was asked upon is, do you like maths? So and do you like quants? So I was really honest with them that this is something that I don't like. So then they quickly came up with a counter that why are you sitting in the interview then? Like, how are you sitting here? So I told them that, sir, this is something that I don't like, but it needed to be done for the exam. So I had done it. So I got a bit nervous actually after this question because we all know IIM Ahmedabad is a quant heavy college, and the emphasis that is given to quant and numbers specifically in IIM Ahmedabad. So it was a chilling start for me, but I didn't get disheartened because I was really honest to them. I told them an honest answer. I believe that in interviews, such crunch interviews, it's really important to be yourself and not to deviate from something that you aren't, because these interviews and panelists are so experienced in taking interviews. They'll catch you within a whisker if you're telling them a lie, or if you're trying to play with them. So I played it safe. I told them the truth confidently, and so they were okay with the fact. So I've done my engineering in food technology and management. So they asked me some statistical questions related to my background regarding the food concepts, some maths around that. So I was able to answer that. So they asked me about my internships that I have done. So I was a fresher at that point of time when I had filled in the form, but I was working in CUET as a talent acquisition associate for 3 months when my interview happened. So I told them that I was working with them, but then they disregarded my experience till that point of time because it was for only 3 months. And then they asked me about the internships that I had done. So I had done 3 internships. So I told them about my internships, and apparently one of the professors was very aware about the field or the year in which I had done my internship. So I had done my internship with ITC in their food division, in the shrimp section, in the aqua section. So the professor, the IIM Ahmedabad professor, knew about shrimps in a depth. So he decided to take that point much forward, and my interview experience from then till the end was based around my internship experience. So first they asked me what my internship was, whether it was a work from home internship, or what were the circumstances under which I did my internship. So I told them everything about how my internship went, what all did I do, what all was I required to do, whether I was able to achieve it or not. And tried to keep my conversation with them revolving around numbers. I gave them numbers that this was the thing that was required from me, and this is the thing that I have done, the things and the research that I have done in my interview, in my project, or at my internship would help the company increasing their revenues by this much, decreasing their uh, um, wastages in the supply chain processes by this much. So I gave them concrete numbers, and I believe when you are also, if you are asked about your projects, you should be quantitative. You should answer it very quantitatively, because it also reflects how confident you are about the things that you have done. So yeah, I threw numbers at them, and they were kind of impressed with how I was explaining. And then the professor went deep into my project, because he was aware of I believe he was aware of the supply chain factor of the shrimp side. So he went deep into my processes. He asked me about the cold chain facilities, the extra facilities, or the extra things that were carried out, how to improve the cost, how to reduce the cost. So we went deep into it. There were certain questions to which I don't have a definite answer to, and I was very honest with them that this is something that I cannot recall to. But the panelist persisted me that I give it a try. I guess the answer. So I guessed the answer, and it was right. So this happened like twice or thrice when I wasn't able to answer it in the first go, because I was not able to recollect it. I honestly told them that I'm not able to recollect it right now. So they said it's fine. I can take a guess with it, and I took the guess, and it was the guess was correct. So this happened for around 5-6 minutes, the whole internship interview thing, and the alum didn't ask me much questions. He just asked me about where all I had done my internship in. So the alum was pretty much silent throughout the interview, and I believe that's why my interview's time was also less. Um, and there's often said that there's a box of toffee kept in Ahmedabad interviews, and if you get a toffee, your chances of getting selected are higher. Apparently, I didn't get any toffee. I saw the box that was kept there, and I didn't get any toffee, so it's fine if you don't get it. If after your interview, there's nothing to be nervous about. It's not a bad thing, or it's not a good thing that you're getting a trophy. It's just that I believe they like to compliment the students who had a great interview. I know students who got a trophy and they didn't convert the interview. I know students who didn't get a trophy and they converted the call. So it's completely fine. The trophy is nothing to fret about. My interview duration was around 12 to 13 minutes, whereas the other students, those who were before me and after me, they had their interview durations for about 20 to 25 minutes. So this was something which I believe after the interview I was very nervous about, that my interview was fairly shorter as compared to the interviews. So as soon as I got out of the interview, I knew that it would be the panelists would have made a clear thought within those 12-13 minutes that if I'm good enough for the seat or call, or if I'm bad enough. So they didn't. What I personally felt was they didn't require that long to gauge my personality and how I am as a person. So, but yes, definitely, it's very nerve-wracking after you get out of the interview, especially keeping the fact in mind that the interviews were so long and my interview was very short. But in the end, as long as I converted the call, so it's nothing. I think it's nothing as of now. So I just recommend all of you to be yourself, to be true to yourself in the interview. Don't bluff. If you don't know something, it's very okay, and it's completely fine to admit something that you don't know something, and you'd learn it. So also when I said them that I don't like maths and I would be doing it if required, so they asked me that would I be comfortable in studying it once I come, if I come to the institute, and I said yes, I'll have ample amount of time between the call, the result, and coming to IIM Ahmedabad. So I'll prepare for it accordingly. So yes, I believe we should have a sense of humility in our interviews. We shouldn't be very overconfident about our preparation. Just be grounded to your roots. Accept the fact if you don't know something, don't beat around the bush, and keep the answers as brisk as possible, as brief as possible, and throw them with numbers as long as you're confident with the numbers. Don't just to try show it off, and just don't throw numbers at them if you're not confident with your numbers. So yes, I believe I'll tell a few pointers again just to summarize it. Be confident, don't be very nervous, try to answer them at try to answer your try to structure your answers in a very brief way, try to put numbers, try to use numbers in your answers, in the all the quantitative answers. And yes, I guess that's good to go, and all the best for your interview experiences, and I hope you make it to Ahmedabad.
Hello everyone, I'm Shritesh. I'm currently pursuing my Bachelor of Commerce from St. Joseph's College of Commerce. I've done two internships, one as a financial analyst at Fiscal Aid Advisory Private Limited and as a marketing intern for Little Smiles organization. Apart from that, I've also helped my father at a retail store which we have. So I'm a BCom fresher who had interview calls from all the IIMs. So one of my prime focus, which was also my best call, was IIM Ahmedabad, and this is the experience that I would like to share today. So being fully aware of the importance that the interview call carried, I was nervous and trying to prepare myself to the maximum for the interview. I very clearly remember that my interview was on March 8th because it was also International Women's Day on the same day. So I had prepared a little bit on that as well, but I remember the date because of the International Women's Day and so on. So when my turn came, which was second in the round, as I mentioned, I was called in for the interview. So even going in, I was quite tensed. So I knew the sort of importance that that 1 hour would carry, and yes, so there was a lot of thoughts flashing in my mind. And as soon as I entered the interview room, it was two huge TVs. Huge in the sense it was around 42 inches, or the next size is 56 inches probably. So two huge screens with two professors seated, and there was one huge webcam also that was I guess in the center of these two screens, that was facing directly at me, and I could see my video in the top corner of the right side screen. So I could see myself, I could see the both the professors. Both the professors were seated and they were also smiling. That sort of gave me a very positive start, I would say. And then I excused myself and I took a seat, and then the interview started. So there was a casual greeting toward in the start, and the professors, I guess, were going through my profile at that time. So immediately the interview started, and they asked if I was a BCom graduate who is currently pursuing, and I nodded persuasively. And then they asked me which my favorite subject was. So I gave them a list of a couple of subjects, which was started with financial management, financial accounting, and so on. So one of the professors, the one on the left, took up financial management and asked me what it was about, just generally, casually. And I'm not exactly sure why I gave this answer, but I actually told financial management is management of finance. So which actually which I did not mean, but it came out that way, and both the professors started laughing. So, and then I told, I'm so sorry that it came out that way, but what I actually meant was there are various sources of finance that a company can borrow. So people take in money, how they utilize it, and how they give out the return. So financial management is concerned with these three aspects primarily, among others. And the professor was also convinced. So then the professor on the left started asking me questions regarding my subject knowledge is what I assume in retrospect. So the first question I was asked was, what do you feel about startup valuations? So since I was a finance major as well, I think this question came up, and uh, my basic answer was that startups are a very different thing because they do not have any backstory, and the valuation is based on returns they might generate 10 years, 15 years into the future. So I explained my thought process uh, as to how I came to this conclusion and what metrics I would use to value a startup. So even though it was very crudely put, I think they appreciated my thought process, and then I went on to the next question. So the next question was about NPAs, which is non-performing assets that we usually find in the books of banks, public banks, private banks, etc. So I was asked what these NPAs are, where do they come in the balance sheets, how are they reflected, what sort of an impact it has on the profitability. Uh, so I was able to answer all these questions. So I had read about these things. So while I was going through news articles and so on, so I was able to go through these questions. But in the while answering these questions, I also understood that I was sort of shivering, like like now how I'm shivering. I was also shivering the same way, and the conversation was not as natural as expected. So I tried to ease up, so I tried to calm myself at that point, and that was when the professor on the right started. So as I had mentioned, it was a offline AWT that we had. So I thought anyway they would not have the paper and it would be evaluated post my interview. But that was a very wrong assumption. And while the professor on the left was asking me questions, the professor on the right was going through the article that I had written. So he actually took up the points that I mentioned. In fact, he took up every point that I had mentioned and asked me to justify the same. Starting from the quote, which was a very pessimistic quote, he asked me why I'm taking such a pessimistic view, right? He asked me about my pessimistic view. He also asked me about if the scenario is so bad, then why are so many women excelling? And he tried to counter my points, and I tried to justify my viewpoint as well. So, 2 points that I mentioned, one about women and one about inclusivity of various career choices like commerce, arts, and so on. So, he picked up both, and there was a clear, good discussion of around 3 to 4 minutes, I'd say, around the same topic. So, one thing that I say is never make any assumptions and have an open mind. So, if you have mentioned something, you would have mentioned it for a reason, and you can genuinely try to tell the professors your sort of a reasoning as to why you mentioned the same. So my excuse for being so pessimistic was that it was a point of national concern, and through my writing, through my article, I wanted to bring that out, courtesy of having International Women's Day on the same day. So I think the professor was quite justified about the same, and then we went on to the next topic. So next we went on to the various hobbies that I had. So I started telling about my theater, about the shop that I was going to, and so on. But they picked out the last thing that I told. So at the end, I told I watch anime, which is Japanese comics, for entertainment. So for leisure and entertainment, I watch anime. So when I told this, the professor on the left caught this point and he started asking me more on it. I never expected that a college professor would be so aware about comics and all these sort of things. But yes, he definitely knew about it. And when I told the anime that I do watch, there was further questioning on it as well. Being a very interested fan of that anime, my eyes also lit up during that part. So, and I think even the professor understood that because he was also smiling seeing the way I was answering. So, one thing that I'd say here is that no matter what hobby you have, don't try to fake it. If you genuinely have a hobby, do mention it. And the moment you show passion, right, the passion will come out in your eyes, in your words, and it definitely reflects on the professors as well. So it definitely gives a good vibe, and your interview process will be much smoother. So to all the people who are going to give their IIM Ahmedabad interviews, one thing that I would like to tell is that you need to have a good clarity, right? So clarity in the sense, not just in your academics or your work experience, but also in your life choices, right? Why did you take up a particular internship? Why did you take up a particular job? Why do you want to do an MBA? What do you aim to get out of an MBA? Do you have clarity on all these things, right? So once you have good clarity, and once you're well aware about your past, about yourself, you would be very confident in an interview, and that confidence would be visible as well. Another thing that I would also tell is that you must be genuine in an interview. So any type of faking, the professors will be able to pick it up very easily. And being genuine is also expected. You are a management candidate, and it is important that you show genuinity even at the tough times, right? Even though I had the pressure of an interview on me, being genuine, being natural is what would cool that entire process and make it smooth. So these are the two things that I would like to tell to any candidate who is preparing for their interviews. And I'm definitely looking forward to the 2 years. So hopefully, given chances, I would come back and speak to you again. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so hi everyone. This is Asta Sharma. A brief background about myself. I'm a fresher from NIFT Mumbai with fashion technology, and I got admitted. I got calls from IIM A, B, L, K, I, and all the CAP calls, along with that FMS call, and I joined IIM Ahmedabad. I am currently in my year 1, which will finish this April, and I'll be interning after that in BCG. So about the PDP, so one thing I would like to say to all of you before anything else, that once you get a call, you should keep a mind frame that they have given you a call letter because they want you. So in interviews or in your group discussions or in your written ability test, all you have to do is not give them a reason to reject you. So if you go with this mindset, go with a positive mindset, I don't think there will be any problem in that. Secondly, I am going to share how I went through the entire preparation process for my interviews. And after that, we can open for Q&A. So in IIMs, you do not have group discussions. IIM Bangalore and IIM Ahmedabad conducts written ability tests. IIM Bangalore conducts a written ability test, whereas in IIM Ahmedabad, you have analytical written ability, which is basically that they give you a scenario, and then based on that scenario, you have to answer a question. It's more of analysis than of writing an essay. So what happens, how we should go about is, first, we should start with introspection. That is, you need to know everything about yourself. So I started personally by writing a para about myself, wherein I wrote about, my background, my hometown, my education, my strengths, my weaknesses, who's my role model, what is my biggest achievement. So find out everything about yourself, and then whatever you have written, you need to do an in-depth study about that. For example, if I talk about my hometown, so my hometown is in Himachal Pradesh. It's in Solan. So I started reading about Solan. What when it was formed, who's the chief minister, about all the political areas, about the social areas of my hometown. It's called the Mushroom City. So why is it called the Mushroom City? So all these things you have to know about your hometown. If you are in UP, for example, so elections are coming up. So you need to know about the policies, about the schemes that the past UP government selected. They might even ask you about your opinion on, the other governments or the opposition. So you need to be aware about your hometown. Then comes about your bachelor's. So no one will be interested in your school life, as far as I know and as much as I have heard from my colleagues. So they'll be focusing more on your work experience as well as on your bachelor's. So in your bachelor's, I was from NIFT. So I was from technology background, but I had to read a lot about, what is going on in the fashion industry, what are the new technologies which are coming up, what could be improved. I read about sustainability, what can be done. I also did a graduation project. It was related to AIML. So they asked me about AIML also. So you need to study about your bachelor's, various subjects in bachelor's. You need to revise everything. They can ask you anything in your interview. Then come your work experience. In work experience, a lot of questions like your ethical dilemma, one of your ethical dilemmas. What is the biggest success that you had in your work experience? What are the biggest challenges that you faced in your work experience? Now, if your bachelor's and your work experience are in similar field, it's fine. If they're not in a similar field, they might ask you why you changed it. What was the reason that you wanted to change your bachelor's field? So all these about your bachelor's. If you have a gap year, it does not matter. They will ask you what were you doing that time. So if you just say that I was preparing for CAT or I was preparing for this exam, it is not in your disadvantage. It's a thing that a lot of people have, that I dropped an year to prepare for CAT. It might be in my disadvantage. It is not. Thirdly, after all this, you need to know your current affairs. So current affairs, basically, what I did, I used to read 2 newspapers every day, the Hindu and the Economic Times. So read it every day, take notes of the important points, revise it every weekend. They might ask you your opinion on any current topic that is going on. They might ask you your opinion on how government should, react to this COVID situation. What could they have done better? What they did wrong? What they did right? So anything could be there. You need to know about all those things. So your current affairs are an important aspect here. Besides your bachelor's, about your hometown, your current affairs, you also need to know everything about, like I said initially, about yourself. So they can ask you anything about your role model. Why is that particular person your role model? What they did in their life. So if your role model is your personal role model, it's fine. If it's not, if it's a professional person, like any person you seem to be a role model, you need to know about that person. So when it comes to personal interviews, what you need to do in short is write about yourself, and with every word you should have a story prepared. With every word you should have in-depth knowledge about everything that you did in your life. You should don't keep a loop that I will not study this. So they might even ask you anything. Nothing is going to start from nothing they are going to ask which you have not studied. So everything which they ask will be related to you. So we should keep that in mind. Now coming to group discussion and written ability tests. So in written ability test, you don't have to prepare a lot. Again, one thing that matters here is your knowledge about the current affairs or your current topics. So you can see what are the current topics going on, write about it. Then about your analytical written ability test, nothing. For my analytical written ability test, it was an essay on farm laws, and they just asked my opinion on the farm laws. Is it right or is it wrong? So that was my only thing that came in analytical. So again, your current affairs matter here. Besides from that, when you go to your interview, the thing that impresses them the most is, one, their confidence. They are not looking for someone who knows everything. They might ask you a lot of questions. If you're not from eco background, they might ask you 1 or 2 economics questions. You don't have to do anything there. You can easily say, sir, I do not know about it, but I would like to know about it after I go back to my place. So it's completely fine. They want you because you are, what matters to them is honesty and your confidence. So keep that in mind. Keep a smile on your face. That gives a very positive impression about yourself. Coming to group discussions, I personally did not sit for any group discussion, but before coming for the session, I had a conversation with one of my friends who sat for group discussion so that I can tell you guys better. The only thing that matters in group discussions, number one, as I have said a lot of times, current affairs. And number two is the fact that, so when a group discussion topic comes up, you have to start a topic. You have to run it through people. So you do not have to fight with people. That's a debate. In group discussion, you have to come out, you have to take out a conclusion of that topic with the other people. So they're looking for teamwork there. And then make sure you conclude that. So you're starting and you're concluding matters here, and your teamwork is what they're looking for in group discussions. I will share about my IIM Ahmedabad interview. It was a full stress interview. So this is one of the misconceptions that people have, that, if your interview is stress interview, you might not get selected. That is not the case. They just want to give you stress so that they can check how much you can keep yourself in senses, even in a stressful situation. So my Ahmedabad interview went for around 35 minutes. It was a very lengthy, very stressful interview. They started with the basic question, tell us about yourself. So I had an answer prepared. So we should always prepare at least this answer, because it gives you a basic flow and it gives you more confidence because you answered the first question. So I told them about myself. I told about my hometown. I told about my family. I told about my bachelor's. I told about the graduation project I did. And then they started talking to me about my graduation project. So I talked about my graduation project because I wanted them to ask me questions about my graduation project. So the first takeaway from this is, make sure you say things from which you want them to ask you. They are not going to ask you from anywhere. So say things which you're confident about. They started asking me about my graduation project. So I told them about my graduation project, how I went through it. What did I do? What did I learn? So this was how I went about talking about my graduation project. After that, they started talking about my hobbies. So I told them painting is my hobby. They asked me, what are the different types of brushes? What are different types of paints? What are different types of oils we use in paints, and all these things. So after that, because I belong to a background which is fashion technology, and it is not a very mathematical oriented background, they wanted to check how much I can handle maths, because in MBA, there are a lot of subjects which include maths and which include your mathematical abilities. So they gave me 3 maths questions. First one was very easy. I did it. It was basically calculating the mean. I did it. Second one was very difficult. I tried. I gave them a wrong answer. I asked them if I could try it again. Again, I gave them a wrong answer. And they asked me if I could try it for the 3rd time, or if I want to skip this question. I told them I want to try it again. I tried it for the 3rd time. I could not give them the right answer, but I told them how I approached it. So they told me where I went wrong, and they said that they appreciated me for my efforts of trying it. It took me 10 minutes to solve that question, which I could not solve correctly. I somewhere lost that confidence in that period of time because I could not do it. Then they gave me another question, which was even more difficult. It was a math statistical questions where I had to use regression and do something. I did not know about that. So I told them very frankly, sir, I'm not aware about the regression. So they gave me a formula. They asked me to put things in this formula and give them a final answer. So there was something related to differentiation. I had studied differentiation a bit for my CAT preparation. So I told them my approach and I got an answer which was almost fine for them. So that's how this part was over. And then at last they asked me why I wanted to be part of IIMA and what is that I would prefer IIMA over any other institute. So this is again one of the answers you should prepare for. So if it's IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Kozhikode, Udaipur, Rohtak, whichever IIM is it, you should have a prepared answer. Why do you want to go to that particular IIM? And at the end, they asked me if I have any questions for them to ask. I asked them that since I am interested in research projects, in IIM Ahmedabad, will I get an opportunity to do a research project with a professor? What I knew and what my mentors told me while I was preparing, you should never say no to when they ask you to ask a question. So you should always keep in mind what do you want to ask them if they ask you the same question. So that was my whole interview experience. For me, it was not a great interview. It was a very stressful interview. I could not answer some questions. There were a few GK questions also, which I forgot to tell you guys about. So they asked me about the recent Nobel Prize winner, what work he or she did, why they won the Nobel Prize. So they asked me all these questions. I was not aware. I told them about the Nobel Prize winner I knew about. So it was not a very great interview. But what they liked, so I met a professor who took my interview when I came to IIM Ahmedabad. And he told me that what they liked about me was the part that I never gave up. And I tried and I was confident. So the only takeaway which you guys should have is prepare your best. Do not leave anything to study. Study everything and be confident.